變咗係嘛 ？OK
好。好，大家好啊，好啊，我哋企埋啲啊嘛，企埋一齊。企埋。
影大啲。過嚟影相啦。好，右手邊。
右手邊。
再右啲。
右手邊。
好啊，再右啲，中間啲。
好，中間。
你可以講中間偏左，中間偏右咁，我哋準確一啲。主席啊，嗰邊啊，好。
右手邊。好，左手邊。
係，跟住後邊。跟住後邊。
好，中間。
中間搞掂未？
左定右啊？
最後一次好嘛？中間嗱，右手邊啊
仲有係咪嗰邊再影 ？OK。
哦，左手邊再嚟多次，係。
後邊嗰度嚇。
後邊。
後邊。後邊影咗到右邊。好。好，中間又再。
好啦，差唔多係嘛？
好，唔該。
中間企埋先。
哦 ，OK。
中間等電視。
後邊嗰度。
好，得未 ？OK 啊。各位
media, friends of the media. On behalf of the Select Committee, may I welcome you all to this press conference. The press committee has already submitted its report at the full council meeting this morning. The Select Committee was formed under ROP 20(6), established under the petition, and it is not given any electrical power and any authority under the Electrical Power and Privileges Ordinance. According to our terms of reference, we have studied Mr. Timothy Tong's duty visits, entertainment and bestowal, and receipt of gifts, and whether that was in line with his public office, and also whether it's in line with the values of property and integrity advocated by the ICAC. The ICAC has also submitted information on Mr. Tong's giving of gifts, and only provided information on the gift of souvenirs, rather than and has omitted the information on food items given by Mr. Tong. That's the main concern of our study. On the whole, during the duty visits, entertainment and bestowing and receipt of gifts by Mr. Tong during his tenure, because of lack of information and evidence, we are unable to come to any deduction as to whether there is any breach of rules or inappropriate handling. As for official entertainment and giving of gifts, according to information and materials obtained, it is obvious that Mr. Tong, in handling such matters, has ignored the principle of frugality and needs to avoid extravagance. He lacked any vigilance. He lacked any vision, any prudence, and he has not appropriately exercised the discretion given to him as the head of the department. Therefore, the Select Committee is of the view that in respect of Mr. Tong's handling of official entertainment and bestowing of gifts, he has not exercised or discharged the duty of a controlling officer under the Public Finance Ordinance, and is also not in line with the values of probity and integrity promoted by the ICAC. He has failed the public's expectation towards the ICAC. He has damaged the image of the ICAC and has tarnished the reputation of the ICAC. As for the omission of information of food item from the list of gifts given to mainland officials, according to information and evidence obtained, the Select Committee is of the view that the officers of the ICAC have made a wrong judgment and defined gifts as souvenirs and have not included food items given by Mr. Tong in the list. The ICAC has not been able to provide comprehensive and detailed reply to the questions of the Select Committee, and the Select Committee expresses its deep regret. As for the regulatory arrangements for official visits, entertainment, bestowing and receipt of gifts, and also checks and balance of administrative powers of the Commissioner, the Select Committee has made a number of recommendations, and we urge the Chief Executive and also the ICAC to actively consider these recommendations and introduce suitable checks and balances which are effective, and to enhance the transparency of internal administration of the ICAC. I have highlighted the most important parts of our report, and the report has now been distributed to the media. So I'd just like to see whether members have anything to add, and then I'll also open the floor to questions, if any. We welcome your questions, and we are happy to answer your questions. Any supplement from members? Ms. Priscilla Leung. Just a little bit of supplement. Just now, the chairman has said very clearly that the committee is of the view that Mr. Tong, with regard to the handling of entertainment expenses, he is not sensitive enough, and in exercising his discretion, he has made inappropriate judgment. Now, we have come across the possibility of criminal proceedings, of criminal prosecution, and because of lack of evidence, we are not able to come to any conclusion. And as for criminal prosecution, I think the matter should be left in the hands of the DOJ. Some members asked for more information concerning the internal information of the ICAC, and also the information from other ranks of the officers of the ICAC and also about the operation of the departments. We are of the view that Mr. Tong should take the full responsibility. Other departments shouldn't be required to be other departments should be allowed to continue with their work to deal with corruption, and we should focus on entertainment and whether the decision of Mr. Tong was appropriate, and we should focus on that, and we should not allow the day-to-day operation of the ICAC. Do members have other things to add? Yes, yes, please be brief. Yeah, it's very brief. Now, you may have noticed that just now in the speech of Mr. Ip, the chairman of the Select Committee, has adopted various wording. Say in different paragraphs, there is different wording. Say, for example, he has failed the expectation, he has damaged the image of the ICAC. We express our deep regrets. And if members have any strong views on certain wording, after discussion, such wording may not have been adopted, but there are footnotes in the report explaining that. I just want to point out that under the leadership of Mr. Kwok-him, the chairman, members have very carefully dealt with the matter and have adopted a fair approach in conducting the investigation. The conclusion of every paragraph has gone through full discussion. Okay, then I open the floor to you all.
I'll teach K. First of all, Mr. Timothy Tong, in his response, said that the report did not use the word corrupt, and therefore he has been absolved. How do you respond to that? And recently, someone said that you had deliberately used moderate terms in your report, trying to play down the whole incident. Mr. Chairman, would you agree with what he said? He also said that you've used different means to prevent them from conducting further investigation. Regarding such criticisms, how would you respond to that? We do not have a response to Mr. Tong. I think we base we're looking at the facts, and according to our terms of reference, we conducted our investigation into his duty visits, entertainment, the bestowing and receipt of gifts. So on the basis of the facts provided, we made our judgment. And I think that's all clear if you read our report. As for some of the comments made by some of our members, I believe the whole subcommittee has conducted 10 meetings and lasting in total 24 hours, and we have summoned 4 witnesses to give evidence. In the process, different views have been put forward. As to the comment that our members have in any way obstructed the investigation, that does not tally with the facts. So long as members followed our as long as it's within our terms of reference, we follow up on the matters we look into. Myself and some of the members have disagreed with the ICAC on certain points, and that is based on facts. Someone suggested that we should summon the ICAC responsible but the whole purpose of the inquiry to investigate into Mr. Timothy Tong and we do not believe that we should involve individual officers within the ICAC, for example, who was responsible for buying the fish balls and other gifts. We do not believe that is necessary because it would be beyond our terms of reference. Regarding the question of judgment, we have discussed each and every issue, and if there were different views, they have all such views have been expressed, and we were still, when we were not able to arrive at a consensus, we would then take a vote. In our conclusion, we have specifically referred to said that Mr. Tong has smeared the reputation of the ICAC and he has not discharged his official duties. And we initially we had a discussion that it may not be the case. This is what is these points have been raised by Mr. Dennis Kwok, and in the course of the investigation we accepted that, and it's also reflected in our report. So I believe that the operation of the select committee was based on the facts, and we made a judgment on the basis of such facts. We had not deliberately tried to play down the whole incident. We have not deliberately avoided adopting any radical approach. We believe that the approach we took was appropriate. Cable TV. Chairman, Mr. Timothy Tong, in Mr. Tong's response. Now, according to the report, you criticize him for spoiling the image of the ICAC. In his response, Mr. Tong said that ICAC has a very high status, and it's not for him alone that can really undermine the status of the ICAC. How would you respond to that? And also, why have you not incorporated the views of some of the select committee members who had held different views into the annex of your report? We've already stated our position regarding your first question. The ICAC or Mr. Tong was the commissioner, obviously had to bear the major responsibility for the work of the ICAC. As to why we have not incorporated the different views of members into the report. Actually, all the views expressed at our meetings have been recorded in the minutes of the Select Committee and have also appended such minutes in our report. And when any issue was voted upon, these have also been included in our appendix, and we would so all the controversies or disagreements among members have been fully expressed in the report. Of course, eventually, we need to come to decision by way of the report, and we made that decision after we've taken a vote. ATV. In the entire report, you've used some very harsh, made some harsh criticisms, but 4 members of Select Committee have not endorsed the report. So how credible is this report, and how would this impact on Mr. Tong? As for the credibility of this report, I believe that will be for the public to judge. After you've read our report, and based on the facts reviewed in this report, you can decide whether or not this report has reflected our conclusions. You said that we've not, clearly made some criticisms or made some represent. We only acted on the basis of facts. And we've already responded to the question. We do not agree with Mr. Tong's criticism of the Select Committee. Regarding certain criticisms, or accusations. We are not able to come to a consensus, especially, and this is also reflected in the report, that is the entertainment of the consul generals to the ICAC for an event. We're able to have access to one report. We couldn't, obtain any first-hand information. And because of that, and you can see that this has been reflected in our report. If certain members have expressed their personal opinion and we do not believe that is appropriate. So eventually we took a vote and we decided not to adopt a radical approach in the absence of any, first-hand information. As to whether or not this is appropriate, I will leave this to the public to make a judgment. We very much hope that Electrical, being a credible institution, we hope that whatever we say should be based on the facts, and that has always been our principle. Ms. Leung. The Select Committee does not need to downplay anything or to play down anything. The PAC has also prepared a very detailed report. There are many areas for which we cannot, go beyond the depth of the study undertaken by investigation by the PAC. We had many meetings and had detailed deliberations. Some of you asked us about Mr. Tong's views, and some 5 members of the Select Committee had a different view, and this shows that we have a whole spectrum of different opinion. But we insist that although we've spent such a long time to deliberate on this issue, we must act in accordance with the principle of the law, especially when sensitive parts which may involve criminal prosecution. We need to act in a responsible manner. Under the common law system, we need to ensure that something is beyond reasonable doubt before we can make a judgment. If the evidence does not allow us to do that, we cannot make a political decision, because that would be irresponsible on the part of the Select Committee. So we've already made many criticisms, although we said, for example, although some of the ICAC staff have participated in making the decision, but eventually it would be the controlling officer who should be responsible.
We should therefore focus on Mr. Tong, and we should focus on the parts that we could have access to in the investigation. We shouldn't go beyond the legal principle or the principles of law and jump to a certain conclusion. We have no intention to dilute anything. We have to base on law and on facts. The division bell has been ringing for about 10 minutes, and if the meeting is to be aborted because of the 6 of us here, that will become news again. So would you allow us to go back to the chamber first? We will come back very soon.
呢個都係我哋而家立法會嘅一種。
Well, that's a special feature of the Legislative Council nowadays. Let's continue. Oriental Daily. Ms. Yip, good afternoon. Now, the duty of the responsibility is to get to the facts to obtain as much information as possible. But you say the Select Committee doesn't have information, therefore cannot show that that is dereliction of duty on the part of Timothy Tong. Do you think that the report is really wishy-washy and you don't use the word greed or corruption to describe Mr. Tong? We say there is not enough information. Because of this. Now, the PAC and also the IRC have done their part, and we made reference to their information. We have not unearthed anything new, and we cannot form a new view without any new information. We can only base on original information. That's the part. The ICAC may conduct criminal investigation on Mr. Tong. Therefore, the ICAC has not been able to provide information in certain respect. In this report, we have already expressed our regret. We believe that shouldn't be the case. In fact, in handling such information, we were able to handle that in previous select committees. In the report, we made use of the wording which we believe is more correct or more appropriate. We cannot speculate. We have to base on facts. Concerning greed or corruption, we didn't use the word in the report. Let me put it this way. We carefully considered each paragraph. We look at evidence we obtained. We looked at it from the perspective of importance, so in respect of corruption, and then we come to the conclusions in the report. If it is not in line with the values of probity, of integrity, damage the image of the ICAC, tarnish image of ICAC, which is more appropriate or correct? I think the descriptions we use are more correct and accurate, and such criticisms are no mean feat. TVB English channel.
Prove this report? How do you prove that is legitimate? And are there specific issues that you failed to reach consensus on, specific examples? And we heard a lot of criticism that the report is trying to cool things down, and we saw that some of the opposing opinions there are in the appendix. How do you justify that, well, you're not too lenient on Timothy Tong? And the last question is, Timothy Tong actually said he alone could not ruin ICAC's reputation, and how would you comment on it? Thanks.
Okay, I will take some questions and other members can add on the comments. First of all, Mr. Tong, as the head of ICAC, he has to be ultimately liable for what has been blamed and what has not reached the public expectation. So we need to focus on the way he has conducted his discretionary power, whether it is appropriate, whether he has wrongly used it, and whether he is not sensitive enough to the role he is playing as the top person of ICAC. So he has to take the responsibility. That is the first point. Secondly, regarding some of our members who disagree with the majority report, we truly and fully respect their view. In fact, in the process, we have accommodated many of their views, which has been put into the footnotes. However, for those areas which do not have enough evidence to reach the principle of beyond reasonable doubt, according to common law principle, if we need to draw a conclusion, which might hint that the person has already committed criminal offenses, our committee has to be very careful. We do not rule out any possibility that might be found by the Department of Justice, who has the power to investigate with the evidence that our committee cannot get, because we are not investigating the issue under powers and privilege ordinance. However, we try our very best. In particular, you can see, we also use the term like condemn, which is not lenient at all. We cannot just fulfill certain wish of some of the political aspiration that they want us to use this word. However, if you look at the content and the elaboration of our conclusions, we have criticized a lot with what we have found to the former head of ICAC. And in terms of some of the members criticizing that we do not allow them to go through certain areas that they want to investigate, I think this is not true fair to our committee. In fact, we have the terms of reference, and we have to focus on Mr. Tong, who is also under criminal investigation so far we know. So we should not expand the area to such an extent that other departments which are not directly related to the terms of reference, and we should allow the ICAC departments to focus on their own work, and this investigation cannot be opened up to an endless area. So we focus on the terms of reference, and to take the questions from some of your press friends, we do not rule out any possibility that heavier charges may be found by the Department of Justice, but this would not be the role of the Select Committee. So that is what I would like to say. Any other report? Yeah.
One more comment. I think for the committee, in drawing up our conclusion and recommendations, we must, based on the evidence, paper and documents, we could be able to obtain. So I would not say whether our conclusion recommendation is lenient or stringent. I must say that it is a fair, true and reasonable recommendation and conclusion. So this is what I want to emphasize. Thank you.
Okay.
Ming Park. I'd like to follow up on Mr. Dennis Kwok's accusation. He said that at the last meeting on June the 23rd, he suggested to the chairman that he wanted to add his alternate report into the main report by way of an appendix to this Select Committee report. And he said that without going through a discussion and without taking a vote, the chairman refused his request. And there were some members from the pro-establishment camp were present, did not object. So what was the reason for that? And also Ms. Sitho said that the final draft of the report was taken to the office on Friday, and the vote was taken on Monday. So she claimed that she was not given sufficient time. She asked why they couldn't spend the whole summer vacation to study in detail the wordings in the report. On whether or not the report was issued hastily so that Ms. Ho could not express her opinion. Now, the purpose of this report is very clear. We hope that we'll be able to, distribute this report today. That was our objective, and we had spent 24 hours and conducted 10 hearings. Ms. Ho said that she was not given sufficient time. On the 16th of June, we originally should have had a meeting. However, since we had the full council meeting, on that day, our meeting could not be held as scheduled. But the relevant information had already been circulated to members. Since we couldn't hold that meeting, it was held the following week. So we therefore had a meeting on the 23rd. And on Saturday, we have already circulated a report to the office, the report of the Select Committee. It was the English version. The Chinese version had already been circulated earlier. As to whether or not she had sufficient time to read the report, I think you can make a judgment yourselves. The alternate report proposed by Mr. Dennis Kwok. Of course, this Select Committee is different from other Select Committee because it does not enjoy it's not protected by the powers and privileges ordinance. But other Select Committees also did not append ultimate report in this main report. The only subcommittee was the subcommittee on the Lehman Brothers incident, and there was an alternate report, but the alternate report was not included in the report of the committee. The report of the Select Committee has to go through a very stringent procedure. We must obtain the consent of the committee. If there is any disagreement, we need to take a vote, and we need to confirm each and every paragraph of the report. If you look at page 50 of this report, we have many footnotes, including the proposed amendment by Ms. Ho and also by Mr. Dennis Kwok, how we voted and what was the result of the vote. It's all clearly, provided for in the report. Mr. Dennis Kwok asked why the minority report was not included in the report. I've already said at the committee meeting that it's not possible that we have a minority report or alternate report in the report of the Select Committee. But we all agree at the time that we could do so by way of a letter. He emphasized that he had different views regarding the conclusions of the Select Committee. That's fine. They can certainly, put in their additional opinion, and I have promised that their views by way of a letter they express can be included in the report as an appendix. But in the end, he didn't do that. He published a minority or alternate report instead. How can we put this alternate report in the report? A report is a report. You cannot have a main report and then another minority report. We've already given him the opportunity to express his opinion in writing for the Select Committee to express. At the time of the deadline, he provided us with the minority report. I asked him whether or not he would further amend it, and he refused in the end. Well, the report is the report of the Select Committee. There cannot be an alternate report. The example I gave just now showed that all the views expressed by members. We've also provided the minutes of all our meetings. On page 50, for example, the amendments proposed by Ms. Ho, I would invite you to make reference of the minutes of the meeting held on the 23rd of June, and it's all there in paragraph 3. So everything each and every member had said had been fully included fully reflected in the report. Commercial radio. Earlier, in Casey's report, it has used the word like, reprimand and condemn. If you compare the PAC report with yours, do you think that in your report, have you further elaborated on the accusations made by the PAC? You said that your investigation cannot match the level of the PAC. So does that mean that the report that you've undertaken wasn't really worth the effort? Are you giving the public the impression that you've not tried your level best to find out the truth? Regarding the PAC, I think our roles are different, and Mr. Gary Chen can also supplement, because PAC has its own terms of reference. Our select committee also acted in accordance with our terms of reference. As written on, the inquiry was worth the effort. You've all seen the petition. At the council meeting, it was decided that we cannot set up a subcommittee covered by the Powers and Privileges Ordinance. And therefore, the investigation of the select committee will definitely be subject to some restraint. Certainly, its investigation will not be as thorough as that of the PAC, because the PAC can exercise the Powers and Privileges Ordinance. Mr. Chen, I'm a member of the PAC and the select committee. The select committee, another member is Paul Chair. He is also a member of the PAC, which looked into the incident relating to Timothy Tong. I think the PAC will look at the value for money perspective, whereas the select committee has a broader perspective. Our select committees has a defined terms of reference which we follow. So though the two committees have different roles to play, but you can see that in the course of taking evidence, many questions we asked had also been asked by the PAC, except that when the select committee conducted its investigation, we were able to obtain evidence which further confirm or corroborated the findings of the PAC. For example, Mr. Timothy Tong serving, hard liquor and so on. At the PAC, they have pointed out that ever since it was only after Mr. Tong has became the commissioner that they started serving the guests with hard liquor, and they've used more than 800 bottles. And Mr. Tong has given a very detailed response. However, when it came to the hearing of the select committee, when we took evidence from Mr. Tong, he said clearly that this was a habit in entertaining guests, and he said he only used 12 bottles of hard liquor per month, and that wasn't excessive. But these figures and also Mr. Tong's responses have further confirmed that during his tenure, the culture of serving hard liquor to guests was not appropriate, and as a result hurt the image of the ICAC. So this has further corroborated the evidence obtained by the PAC. Also,
just now Ms. Sito said that she received the document late. Concerning the draft of the report, we received the draft 1 or 2 days before the meeting, but the report of the select committee, the draft of the select committee has been given to members well in advance, and the amendments are just minor amendments. Generally, there are not big changes. You cannot just say that you just received the report the day before and you have not read that report before. That couldn't be possible. Who has not asked any questions?
Is trying to dilute the gravity of allegation against Mr. Tong. What do you think about that? Thanks.
We don't have any need to dilute the gravity of any allegation against Mr. Tong. In fact, the whole committee, based on the terms of reference, as well as based on facts and the relevant laws, we also apply a very fair attitude towards what we consider to be the wrongs conducted by Mr. Tong as the former head of ICAC. You can see we also put very strong remarks to condemn certain areas that we find that him not having exercised the discretionary power properly. And we also find that he has tarnished the reputation of the ICAC, so which is quite strong. However, according to the principle of beyond reasonable doubt, we can't draw a conclusion that Mr. Tong has committed certain criminal offences subject to the circumstances, and the area has to be left to the Department of Justice to further investigate, because we don't have the power under PMP to get enough evidence to draw such kind of conclusion. So I don't think that it is a fair remark for our committee that we want to dilute any gravity against Mr. Tong. We just try to do our best to investigate within the areas under the terms of reference.
差唔多啦，問咗1至2條啊嘛，邊你未問過？
One or two more questions, please. Now, concerning the minority report of the Pan-Democrats and your report, do you think that's an other break between the Pan-Democrats and the pro-establishment? And Dennis Kwok also accused that some of the views had not been adopted, and the committee agreed that it could be in the form of a letter and appended to the report. Now, is it because the minority report is not submitted in the form of a letter, and therefore the minority report is not accepted in the attachment of the main report? And have you discussed the minority report, and have you, when did you tell him that he should submit the minority report in form of a letter? In fact, on the 23rd, the last day, we looked at the report, or rather we adopted the report. The minority report is a minority report. It is not a letter. We pointed that out. He could submit it in form of a letter. And that's very clear. But he only submitted a minority report. I've already explained that. We spent 24 hours on discussing the report. And there were different views. And finally, we came to certain conclusions. We adopt certain conclusions. There were views proposed by the Pan-Democrats which had been adopted. We did it paragraph by paragraph. This is a carefully written report. If there is a different view and it has to be incorporated into the main report as a minority report, that is not appropriate. And we've already given a chance to them. They can file their view in the form of a letter. That doesn't need the approval of the Select Committee. If it is just a letter, an attachment, say on this point, you can refer to his letter, this is his view. We do not say this is right or this is wrong. this is just his view in a letter. This letter shouldn't be a minority report. The last question, Ming Pao. Just now, Ms. Sit-ho said that when the committee discussed something in the area involving the foreign ministry or Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the chairman just abruptly stopped that. How would you respond to that? And concerning the criminal investigation by the ICAC, some time has been taken by the ICAC to do that. Will you urge the ICAC to complete the investigation as soon as possible, or will you ask them to tell you a deadline? We don't mention a deadline, but we do urge the ICAC to conduct the criminal investigation and provide us with any new information they have unearthed. I also want to ask the Secretary whether I did suspend a meeting or adjourn a meeting. I didn't. I didn't adjourn any meeting. I didn't stop anybody from expressing his or her view, even the view of the Vice Chairman. The Vice Chairman has a chance to give views, and if there is anything coming up for discussion, I allow the discussion. Well, I heard that Ms. Ho was in tears. She said that she was not given ample opportunity to give her views. But according to my impression as the chairman, I am willing to allow all members to speak. But I want to clarify one point, and that is, on the 23rd, when each paragraph of the report is put up for voting, after we have put up each paragraph for voting, we received the proposed amendments by Ms. Ho. In fact, we have completed the whole process. There is no reason to going over that, or to going it all over again. And Mr. Kwok objected. And I then proposed that the letter could be appended to the report. That can be an attachment to the report, if there is such a view. I don't think there is any gross treatment or impolite treatment of any member. Members were free to air their views. Probably I am the chairman. I haven't recognized that, but I do have other members who attended the meetings here. I have listened very carefully. Well, I'm willing to listen, and if I did so, then I'm willing to apologize. But if it is not the fact, then sorry, speaker's not coming through. Well, I saw the report. They claimed they represent 7 million. I asked myself, with hand on my heart, that we have done our best. We act according to the terms of reference. The involvement, I really appreciate the efforts and involvement of our members. If I have any shortcomings, I take the responsibility. But if they form such a view on our report, then I leave it to the judgment of the community at large, whether the report is fair or not. I attended each meeting. Let me stress that under the leadership of the chairman, each member was given a chance to give their views and we had the chance to thoroughly discuss the views of members. On the 23rd of June, Dennis Kwok raised different views, and we asked him to provide his view in a letter, and he was given a date, but he didn't give that letter, or he didn't give that document before the deadline, and I'm rather I feel rather disappointed. This is the first time I joined such a committee. Now we have to base on facts. We have to base on the documents available. We have to be fair-minded in making a judgment. It is not suitable and not appropriate to be subjective and based on preconceived views and force other people to accept your view. Different views can be recorded. But if we have adopted their approach, then there will be no credibility. Of course, they can disagree. They have a minority report. As a member of the Select Committee, I think we have worked according to the terms of reference.
And we have submitted a report. We actually base a report on the facts. As the chairman said, we've acted fairly and justly, and this report is also based on the facts. Thank you very much.